Hello and welcome. Today we'll be going over Webpack 2 loaders and how to create your own custom loader. Now, if you're new to Webpack 2, I would highly recommend you check out my full Webpack 2 tutorial, which I'll link in the description. So why would you want to create a custom loader in Webpack 2? Well, one is it allows you to put any files into your bundle. So you can import things like images or CSS, and then with Webpack loaders, you can transform those files so that you can actually leverage them in your bundle and use them in the browser. Two, you can also transpile your own language into JavaScript. So this is often done with like CoffeeScript and TypeScript and even ES6, where it's not supported yet by all the browsers. So Webpack allows you to pre-process those files so that before they go into the bundle and then loaded in the browser, they're already in a format that the browser accepts. And finally, but also probably most importantly, it helps you learn how Webpack and Webpack loaders work under the hood. So before jumping in, let me show you what I have set up here. So we have a Webpack config, and it has an entry and an output file. And the only thing we actually have here is this index.js, which is hello world. So if I go ahead and I run my build script, we should see it gets outputted into this build folder, bundle.js, and we just have console log hello world. So I'm going to write a custom loader that's going to help transform that file before it goes into my bundle. So I'm going to have a folder here called loaders, and we'll just create a file called myloader.js. So Webpack loaders are actually just node modules that export a function. So, in other words, they look like this. Export a function, and that function is going to take in a source, which is just the string of the file, and we're going to see what that source is. And now, loaders also have to return that source. Now, normally, a loader is going to take in the source, it's going to do a transformation on it, and then it's going to return that transform file or string. For our instance, for just starting, we just want to console log it and we'll return the source. Now, one little gotcha here is normally we can specify or leverage arrow functions. But if you use an arrow function here, you're not going to have the context of this inside of the function. So in other words, this, I believe it's going to be an empty object. And the reason is Webpack needs to, Webpack is going to bind some stuff to the context of this, and arrow functions will not allow you to do that. So make sure that you are using this function keyword as opposed to any arrow functions. All right, so let's go ahead and now we want to leverage this loader in our config. Now, normally to leverage loaders, you say module rules, and then rules is an array. And in here, you can say test. These are the files that we want to test against to run against our loader. So we want to run all JavaScript files, and we want to use my loader. Now, when Webpack normally runs and you specify a loader, Webpack is normally going to look inside of the node modules directory for loaders. And it's not going to look anywhere else, which is a problem for us because our loader exists in this loaders directory. Now, we can fix this by using a property called resolve loader. And we say, we give it this modules property. So this is going to say, where should we look for our loader modules? And we'll say we still want to look inside node modules for some directories, or for some loaders, but we also want to look inside of this loaders folder as well. So we can say path.resolve dir name and specify loaders. Okay. So if I go ahead and run this now, so it's going to look for my loader. It's first going to look inside node modules, and then it won't find it there, so it'll look inside loaders, and it should find it there. And if we run it, we'll now see that we console log hello world, which is being outputted here. And our build still ran. So if we look inside here, we should see hello world is outputted here. Okay, perfect. So we can see that our loader is actually working. So now we can go ahead and transform that file. So let's say we want to take the world part and we want to change that out with, we'll say Bob. So we can say source.replace world with Bob. And we want to return the result here. So now if I run this, my index file is going to run against Webpack. Webpack is going to recognize it as a JavaScript file. So it's going to pass it to my loader. My loader is going to then, it's going to be passed in the source of that file. So in other words, console.log hello world. It's going to then replace any instance of world with Bob, and then it's going to return that so that when we look at our bundle, we should see Bob instead of world. So if I run that, and now I look inside my bundle, we see hello Bob. So now if we wanted to, let's say we wanted to pass in our own name into the loader instead of just Bob. So we can use options for our loaders. And instead of using a string for the use property, we say we use an object, and we still want to use my loader, but now we also want to pass it options. So we say options, and we can give it a name of, we'll say Jim. So now we're going to pass options to our loader. And in order to read these options, Webpack provides a utility that we can leverage called loader-utils. So I can use that here. Loader-utils equals require. And now if I want to get the options, I can simply say options equals loader-utils get options, and I pass in this. And let's just console log those options. So I'm not going to do anything yet with them. We'll console log, just see what they are. So we want to do run build. Okay, so we can see it still ran, and we can see our options as an object with this name property on it. So now we can say, instead of, well, we want to keep that, we'll say, instead of Bob here, we'll say options.name. Now if I run this, looks like it ran. Now if I go into my bundle, we'll now see Jim instead of Bob. And that's again being passed by our Webpack config here. Great. So now we've seen how we can pass through options. One other thing is we can actually chain loaders together. So I'm going to take this options out again, and we're going to put this back to Bob. And let's open this. We're going to rename this to world to Bob. So this is the loader that's going to take anything that says world, and it's going to transform it so that it says Bob. Now I'm going to make another loader here called, so we have world to Bob, and we'll say Bob to Jake.js. Okay, and that's all that's going to do is the same thing here, and we can take out, we're not using options anymore, we can take that out. Bob to Jake, and that's going to take Bob and transform it to Jake. All right, so that should be all set now. So now we want to make sure we are leveraging these correctly. So we can say use, and we can specify an array here. Now, how loaders work is they work from right to left or bottom to top when you're specifying them in an array. So in other words, the bottom one is going to get executed first. So in our index.js, we say hello world. So the first thing we want to execute is world to Bob, and the second thing we want to execute is Bob to Jake. So hopefully this console log hello world turns into Jake. Hello Jake. So now I can say Bob to Jake, and that's going to be followed by world to Bob. So this one's going to get executed first. It's going to transform world to Bob, and then this one's going to get executed second, transform Bob to Jake. Now if I run this, hopefully it all works. And if it did, we should have Jake inside here. Perfect. So that worked. All right. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.